Good evening. Welcome to the Watery Theatre and to the 41st edition of New Directors, New Films. My name's Gavin Smith. I'm the editor of Film Comment, published here at the Film Society, and I'm also one of the 6 members of the New Directors Selection Committee. This is a very playful, mischievous film. You may feel like you need to have a roadmap to actually follow the intricacies of the way the story winds within and around itself, with its multiple narratives that all seem to somehow kind of echo each other. But don't worry, you're supposed to get lost in this film, and it will be a very pleasurable and beguiling experience. And then we'll be here afterwards, myself and the director, to explain it all to you, hopefully. Or not. I'm very grateful to the Korea Society for their help with bringing the Romance Joe's director here. So please give a warm welcome to Lee Kwang-Kuk, and translating for him will be Youngsun Che. So please give them a hand.
네, 안녕하세요. 그 로맨스 조를 연출한 이광국이라고 합니다. 와주셔서 감사합니다.
Hello everyone, my name is Lee Kwang-Kuk. I'm the director of Romance Joe. Thank you for coming.
네, 되게 이렇게 좋은 영화제에서 영화를 보여드릴 수 있어서 대단히 기쁘고 행복하고요. 재밌게 보셨으면 좋겠습니다. 감사합니다.
I am extremely pleased to have my film show at such a prestigious film festival, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much.
So please welcome back writer-director Lee Kwang-Kuk. So I'm wondering if your next film will be about a Korean film director who has to come to New York to show his movie and then is asked a lot of strange questions.
아닙니다.
No.
Well, that's disappointing. I was hoping to finally get my break in Korean cinema. To sort of take a step back from the movie itself, you began as an assistant to Hong Sang-soo, and Hong Sang-soo's films, many of them, most of them, the protagonists are filmmakers or people involved in filmmaking. Hong Sang-soo's films also often have a kind of a narrative that somewhere halfway through completely flips over or changes. And while there might be a slight echo of what Hong Sang-soo does in this film, you seem to have taken, in a way, taken the lessons, those lessons, and gone much further. And so I'm curious if you could talk about how you went from working with Hong Sang-soo to coming up with this idea and what the inspiration was.
홍상수 감독님하고 일하면서 저는 너무 재밌게 하고 즐겁게 해서 좋은 영향을 많이 받았다고 생각하는데, 그게 구체적으로 저한테 어떻게 새겨졌는지는 잘 모르겠지만 여기까지 먼저.
I I worked as an AD for Hong Sang-soo, and I enjoyed those years quite a bit. And I do think that I took a lot of lessons from him, from being his assistant director. But I'm not sure in what specific ways that I took away from him.
그래서 이 이야기 같은 경우는 처음 시작할 때 그 제가 조감독 생활을 계속 하다가 어느 순간부터 진짜 제 이야기를 만들어야 되겠다라는 생각을 했었는데 막상 제 이야기를 하려니까 뭘 해야 될지 이렇게 감을 못 잡는 기간이 상당히 길었고요. 그때 되게 절망적인 생각이 들어서 한참 좀 헤매다가 어느 순간부터 그러면 내가 다른 데서 이야기를 찾는 것이 아니라 지금 지금 상황에서부터 출발을 하면 되겠다라고 생각해서 시작을 했고요. 여기까지.
And the starting point for this movie, after working as an AD for Hong Sang-soo for many years, there was a point where I realized that I should really be doing my own movie and think of my own story. But then I also realized that I didn't have a story to tell. And so that there was a long period where I couldn't think of a story to tell, and I was desperate for it. And so after some soul searching, I once again realized that seemed to be the natural starting point for me about a filmmaker who is desperate for a story.
네, 그러던 시기에 우연히 애셔의 그리는 손이라는 그림을 다시 어디서 보게 돼가지고 그 그림을 보는 순간에 이야기가 절실하게 필요한 남자와 그 그림이 주는 뉘앙스, 그리고 제가 그 당시에 관심을 갖고 있던 소문을 좀 다뤄보고 싶었던 욕심이 있었는데 그거 세 개를 이렇게 이런 구조의 이야기로 만들어봐야 되겠다라는 생각을 그때 처음 한 것 같습니다.
And in that period when I was desperate for a story, I revisited a lithograph, Drawing Hands by Asher. And around the time, and I had always been interested in rumors, so these three elements came together, and the nuance from the lithograph, Drawing Hands, kind of gave me the shape of how the narrative should be, which is the hand drawing the other hand, just like the story, telling the other story.
The film actually begins with a filmmaker who has writer's block. Are we supposed to? Do you feel that that's a character that you've actually personally kind of modeled on yourself, or is it just simply the situation?
좀 전에 말씀드린 것처럼 제가 첫 영화 만들기 전에 이야기가 되게 절실하게 필요했었고 그런 기간 동안에 제 절박함이 처음 이 로맨스조의 캐릭터 시작점이 된 것 같습니다.
As I mentioned earlier, the dilemma that I had for not having a story was the starting point, and that starting point was myself, where I was really desperate for a story.
Watching it a second time, I began to think, I began to think that I could actually make it all fit together and make sense. By the end, I realized that was a futile effort. But what I wanted to ask you as a question is, was your intention in a way to create a film that was an unsolvable puzzle?
제 생각에는 아마도 이 이야기를 논리적으로 접근하면 아마 퍼즐처럼 맞추기는 힘들 거고요. 그건 제 의도고, 저는 어떤 창작물이 주는 인상이 더 중요하다고 생각하는데 굳이 논리적으로 분석할 필요 없이 이 영화가 주는 인상이 어떤 것이고 그게 그냥 보시는 분들이 해석하기 나름인 것 같아요.
I think if you try to approach this film from a logical standpoint, it will be difficult to make sense of everything. And for me, I always believe that what's more important is to give the audience a certain impression rather than spell things out. And I think it's really up to the interpretation of each audience.
What's interesting, though, is that there are certain choices that you make in terms of characters and events which deliberately frustrate a solution. There are certain things that if they were changed just a little bit, everything would make sense.
네, 너무 딱 맞아떨어지는 식의 이야기보다는 이 현실과 비현실을 이렇게 되게 균형감 있게 왔다 갔다 했으면 좋겠다는 생각이 있어서 중간중간에 의도적으로 제가 어떤 부분은 더 이렇게 희미하게 뭉개고 살짝 고리를 걸어놓는다던가 그런 식으로 의도한 부분들이 많이 있는 것 같아요.
Rather than having everything fall perfectly into place, I tried to have a good balance of fiction and reality, and I thought, throughout the movie there were moments where I left things kind of oblique and ambiguous on purpose, so that everything wouldn't fit perfectly.
I mean, the film is a mixture of imaginary stories and memories, it seems to me. Maybe I could make that clearer in the sense that some of the film consists of people making up stories, and some of the film consists of people remembering a story from their past.
그러니까 제가 이 이야기를 통해서 다루려고 했던 것 중에 하나가 소문이라는 건데, 소문은 되게 저한테는 유령이랑 같은 개념이라고 생각해서 약간 그런 유령이 주는 느낌과 그 소문이 점점 사람들을 옮겨 다니면서 점점 커지거나 이렇게 과장되거나 이렇게 완전히 다른 이야기로 발전해 나가는 느낌을 좀 어떻게 하면 살릴 수 있을까 고민을 했었고, 중요한 거는 어쨌건 그 애셔의 그리는 손이 주는 뉘앙스를 어떻게 이야기로 바꿔서 보여줄 수 있을 것인지 그 고민을 제일 많이 했습니다.
As I mentioned before, I'd always been interested in rumors, and I always viewed rumors as some kind of a ghost. It had a kind of an impression of a ghost as it kind of wanders around from people to people, and as the way it is exaggerated and distorted and evolves, that has always been an interest of mine. And I tried to turn the nuances that I got from Asher's lithograph into a story.
So the story functions like a rumor, kind of like a virus that passes through everybody. Yes. Okay, I think it's time for some more intelligent questions from out there in the audience. Anyone? Yes. Question. Well, how did Kwang-Kuk prepared the actors for this experience? How did he work with the actors?
배우들이 그 조금 그 다방 레지한 역할을 한 배우는 사실 되게 여러 그룹의 인물들하고 마주치기 때문에 시작하기 전에 좀 헷갈려하는 부분이 있었고요. 근데 제가 강조했던 거는 전체는 제가 밸런스를 맞출 테니까 그 장면마다 그 장면의 목적이 뭔지 상대 배역의 목적이 뭔지 거기에 최대한 집중을 해달라고 얘기를 했었고 촬영할 때는 되게 많은 테이크를 통해서 같이 그 장면들을 만들었습니다.
For example, the girl that plays the bar girl, the coffee girl, she was confused in the beginning because her character encounters many different characters in many different within many different stories and situations. So instead of making her think of the whole picture, I told her to concentrate on each specific scene and think of the goal of that specific scene, and then try to achieve that goal. And during the shooting, we had many takes, and we got through it through many takes.
Any more questions? Yes. At the ending, why did you choose to use the rabbit at the end of the film rather than any other animal?
제가 이 이야기가 약간 구조적인 실험이 많이 있고 현실과 비현실을 계속 왔다 갔다 하기 때문에 보는 사람들이 약간 어려워할 수 있겠다는 생각이 들었는데 준비하면서 이상한 나라의 앨리스를 그 컨셉을 디테일을 약간씩만 영화에 묻혀 놓으면 보는 사람들이 거기서 힌트를 얻을 수 있지 않을까 해서 그 앨리스의 디테일을 조금씩 가져왔고 그래서 토끼를 마지막에 사용을 하게 됐습니다.
As you can see, in this movie, I tried to do a lot of experimentation with the structure, going back and forth between reality and fiction. But then I thought I needed something to make the story more accessible to the audience, and that's why I used references to Alice in Wonderland as a way of giving clues to the audience, and that's why we have the rabbit at the end.
But you waited until the very end to give us some help.
중간중간에도 도움을 많이 드렸다고 생각하는데
I thought I gave you guys help throughout the movie.
I think that the actual real goal was to make a film that people would have to pay to see twice.
어떻게 하셨죠?
How did you know that?
More questions? Well, I want to kind of follow a little bit further the Alice in Wonderland reference, which is the rabbit, but does the little boy at the end of the film in effect become the rabbit because he looks at his watch and he says, I have to go, which is what the Mad March Hare in Alice in Wonderland says. So in a way, does the boy turn into the rabbit?
그런 설정은 아니고요. 소녀는 그러니까 그 엔딩 시퀀스 같은 경우는 이야기 안에 있던 인물이 이렇게 현실을 돌아다니니까 약간 원래 자리로 돌려놓으려고 제가 의식적으로 그렇게 만들었는데 소년이 그런 건 아니에요. 예. 그냥 토끼는 아까 말씀드린 힌트고 상징적인 느낌.
No, I didn't intend the boy to turn into a rabbit. It was rather my intention in that ending was for this character that belongs in a story, that's found to be roaming in reality, to be sent back to the story.
Yes.
특별히 스페인 영화의 영향을 제가 어떤 레퍼런스를 갖고 간 건 아니고 어쨌건 좋은 감독님들 뭐 좋은 작품들이 많으니까 거기서 알게 모르게 조금씩 다 영향이 있었을 거라고 생각하고요. 예, 특별히 스페인 쪽이 그건 아닌 것 같아요.
Okay. Well, there's no particular Spanish reference, Spanish film reference or director, but I'm sure, you know, that of the many great films that have come out of Spain, I have been, you know, without realizing influenced in one way or another, but not Spanish cinema in particular.
Did you have any other kind of, apart from the things that inspired the film, were there any other kind of reference points or things to guide you in terms of the kind of film you conceived of?
처음에 그 직접적으로 레퍼런스를 두고 간 거는 없는 것 같은데 그냥 그 고전 소설을 좋아하고 영화도 약간 고전이 더 저한테는 재밌어서 그냥 많이 보는데 직접적으로 뭔가가 이렇게 이 영화를 만들 때 어떤 레퍼런스로 작용하지는 않은 것 같습니다.
There wasn't really any direct reference from any other movie or literature, but I would say that, you know, I tend to like classic movies, classic literature. So, you know, in general, I have been influenced by those.
I wondered if, for instance, you were familiar with the work of Borges.
보레스 좋아하고 돈키호테 좋아하고
I like Borges and Don Quixote.
그리고 그 이 영화에 나온 책이 아마 제가 자막에 따로 자막을 안 넣었는데 마담 보바리거든요. 근데 한국에서는 한국 관객들이 그 보바리 부인을 거기다 넣은 이유를 되게 궁금했었는데 여기서는 그게 전달이 안 돼서 저도 궁금한 게 있습니다. 그 책이 정말 뭔지 궁금한지 보시는 분들이.
The book that appears, I believe, twice in the movie is Madame Bovary by Flaubert, and I guess we didn't have the subtitle for that, so in Korea, a lot of the audience was curious about why the choice of the book in the movie, but I'm wondering if the American audience here would be curious about it as well.
I think they would. Tell us more.
사실은 제가 좋아하는 책이라서 제가 좋아하는 책을 읽고 있었으면 좋겠다 해서 썼고요. 그 다방 레지랑 초이랑 그 책을 통해서 어떤 관계를 맺어줄 수 있지 않을까 하는 마음에서 그 책을 사용했습니다.
Actually, the reason was that I wanted the characters to be reading a book that I enjoy myself, that I like, and I used it as something that could connect the bar girl to the Choi, the high school girl.
Well, it's a connection that leads you to think that they're the same person, but of course they aren't.
거기도 두 가지 해석이 다 가능할 것 같아요. 그냥 초이의 미래가 레지가 될 수도 있고 레지의 과거가 초이가 될 수도 있는 지점인데 아까 말씀드린 것처럼 제가 약간 희미하게 연결고리만 붙여놓고 딱히 어떤 정답을 갖고 있지는 않은 것 같습니다.
Well, in that case, there are two different interpretations are possible. You could view Choi's future as the bar girl and girl's past as Choi. But as I have mentioned before, I left these things kind of ambiguous on purpose.
Any more questions out there? Oh, yeah, go then. Is there a question in that?
It's good to hear.
I guess the last question, then I'll ask the last question, and that is, has the film? I mean, I guess the film has opened in Korea, and how did Korean audiences and Korean critics respond to the film?
지금 3월 8일 날 개봉을 했고요. 그래서 지금 아직 상영은 하고 있는데 그렇게 독립영화다 보니까 큰 규모는 아니고 작게 하고 있는데 제가 사실은 그냥 보통의 관객들이 좀 어려워할 거라고 생각을 했었는데 제 걱정과는 다르게 관객들도 좀 즐겁게 보시는 것 같고 평론가분들도 되게 좋은 평가를 주셔서 되게 감사하게 생각하고 있습니다. 제 기대보다 훨씬 더 반응이 좋은 것 같습니다.
The film opened on March 8th in Korea and it's still playing, but you know it's an independent film, so it's playing at a pretty small scale. I was worried in the beginning that the audience might find my movie a little bit not accessible, but despite my worries, actually the audience seemed to be enjoying it quite a bit, and the critics have also been very generous to my movie.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for coming, and thanks to you, Lee Kwang-Kuk.
감사합니다.
Thank you.